With how generous Kuro games have been by making it possible to get whichever standard character we want, most people who want to main Calcharo most likely already have him. This guide is going to help you maximize your damage output and enjoyment while playing our Resident Sephiroth, and it will take your Calcharo to the next level. First, I'll be going over echoes and echo setups, potentially good weapons to use, the priority at which he should level his Forte, and once we got all the boring basics out of the way, I'll get into some more advanced stuff, such as his punish combos, combos for DPS windows, some tech regarding recovery cancels, and while for now there aren't a lot of characters in the game, we'll also look at what teammates he can make use of. Although I'll be honest, most of the time I've been playing him solo with no teammates. Anyhow, that's enough yapping, let's get into the juicy stuff. At the first glance, you can already see that his optimal echo set is going to be the Void Thunder set. But in order to stop yourself from tearing your hair out while you are farming for a full 5-piece, you can also go with a 2-piece plus 2-piece, combining Void Thunder and Lingering Tunes. If your subsets are better that way, it might even be optimal compared to running a 5-piece Void Thunder set. Another thing to consider is that you can go either for the standard 4-3-3-1-1 echo setup and get more electro damage bonus, or if you want to get better crits, you can also go with an unorthodox 4-4-1-1-1 setup. While you lose out on quite a bit of electro damage bonus, getting a higher crit rate can make up for this loss, especially since you get crit damage from his Fortes. All that said, the most important echo piece you must get to optimize your Calcharo is the Forecast Echo Thundering Mephis. This echo boosts both your electro damage as well as your ult damage, so both of those are pretty important for boosting Calcharo's overall damage. Best of all, you can farm this guy pretty much infinitely since he respawns every minute. Your best in slot weapon is going to be the standard 5-star Broadblade, Lustrous Razor. The stats it gives are all incredible for Calcharo, getting energy regen so you can charge your ult faster, more damage on your ult after using skill, and you can also get an attack percent boost. Best of all, once you get to Union level 45, you can pick up this weapon for free from the weapon box we will get as a reward. Jiyan's weapon is also good for him, but I personally think if you aren't going to pull for Jiyan, getting his weapon is a waste, since the standard 5-star Broadblade is actually better for Calcharo anyway. If you aren't a strict free-to-play, the Battle Pass weapon Autumn Trace also works super well for Calcharo, since he doesn't get any crit rate from his traces. Combining this weapon and the previously mentioned unorthodox 4-4-1-1-1 echo setup, you can maximize your crit rate and easily get above 70% with just a few other substats. While you are waiting on any of these weapons, you can just use any 3-star Broadblade. I'm partial to using the energy regen one, since it makes it a lot easier to get your ultimate up, and that's basically where most of your Calcharo's damage is going to be coming from. For his Forte, the most important one to raise is going to be Resonance Liberation, since his attacks during his ultimate scale off of that and not basic attack. Next is going to be a toss-up between basic attack and resonance skill, and then you should go with the Forte circuit, and lastly intro skill. So that's it for the basics of how to set up your Calcharo. Now let's get into the more interesting stuff, combos, advanced tech, and potential teams. The way Calcharo's skill works makes it possible to weave normal attacks, heavy attacks, plunge attacks, dodge counters, or echo attacks in between them. And not only can you do it, you are even incentivized to do so, because after using his skill, you have a 1-second cooldown before you can cast the next part of it. This opens up a very free-form playstyle, where you can basically do anything you want in between skill casts, as long as Calcharo stays on field. First, I'll go over his punish combos. Generally speaking, whenever you dodge an attack from your opponent and do a dodge counter, you can cancel that dodge counter into resonance skill. After you hit the first part of the resonance skill, depending on how aggressive your opponent is, you can then cancel that into a basic attack and continue alternating between basic attack and skill until you run through all 3 parts of your resonance skill. That said, against more aggressive boss fights, your safest punish is going to be dodge counter into 1 cast of skill, after which point you can just keep using basic attacks while waiting for the next opportunity to dodge counter into the second part of your skill. To demonstrate what I'm talking about, just check this clip of me fighting the Monkey hologram boss. One important thing to note is that the third part of your skill is not dodge cancelable. It is the only part of your entire moveset which you have to jump cancel instead of dodge cancel, so only use it when you are 100% sure you have a long enough opening where the enemy won't knock you around mid-animation. After you collect 3 stacks of your passive, which gives you an enhanced charge attack, your best bet is to use it as a punish as well. You can do a dodge counter and then cancel that into your enhanced charge attack to make sure all of your damage goes through. If you just randomly throw it out there and waste all those juicy hits because you either have to dodge cancel out or your enemy moves out of the way, that's going to be a real drop to your DPS. Now that we covered the bread and butter punish combos, let's go over your max DPS combo, which is what you will use whenever the boss fights have an opening. Whether that is because you broke their stamina bar or they simply have a phase during which they don't do much and you can just go ham. Your DPS combo for burst phases, if you don't have any passive stacks ready, is going to look like this. Basic, basic, skill, basic, skill, basic, skill, echo attack, enhanced heavy attack, resonance liberation, and then you just spam basic and then dodge counter if necessary. The best option, however, is that if you know there is a burst phase coming up for the boss you are fighting, save your 3 passive stacks in advance. This way, if you already have 3 stacks of your passive and have the enhanced heavy attack locked and loaded, you can skip to that part of the rotation where you start with an echo attack, follow up with an enhanced heavy attack, into resonance liberation. This way, you can maximize your damage output during the DPS window. So now that we've gone over his combos, let's get into recovery cancels. For recovery cancels, you have 3 ways you can cancel the end lag of your moves: swap cancel, dodge cancel, and jump cancel. For Calcharo, you will generally not be using swap cancel as much, since if you swap out during his combos, you will lose the ability to use the next part of your skill. However, you can use it for the third cast of your skill, cast your skills and ult on your other characters, or whatever else you need to get done, and then swap back to him, ready to unleash his enhanced charge attack. The other 2 cancels, however, are going to be much more useful for you, especially dodge cancel. This works not only to cancel your basic attacks or skills either, you can use it to cancel echo attacks as well, which is going to be extremely useful for Calcharo, since his optimal active echo, Thundering Mephis, has an extremely long attack chain, during which you will be very vulnerable. The downside to dodge cancelling your echo attack, however, is that you're not going to be getting the bonus to your electro damage and resonance liberation damage unless the Thundering Mephis gets all of his attacks out, so do keep that in mind when using this technique. Jump cancel is going to be partially useful for being able to cancel the animation of the third part of your skill, mostly because it is not dodge cancelable. That said, this is more of an "oh damn, I fucked up, better salvage the situation," since as we talked about before, you really should only use the third part of your skill if you know you have a good enough opening to get it through. So now that we have combos and cancels out of the way, let's get into what team comps he can use. This is going to be a much shorter section, in part because there are just not many characters in the game right now, which makes team building rather limited, and also in part because I mostly have been using Calcharo solo. Ideally, you want to stick to the setup widely accepted as the standard team composition, with throwing in 1 sub DPS and 1 support. The sub DPS can be Sanhua or Mortefi, and the support is most likely going to be Baiji, or if you have her, Verena. I might do an updated team guide once I manage to level more characters and test different team comps, but generally speaking, for most of the content I tried until now, having a solo Calcharo who is adequately leveled and has a full set of echoes, it was more than enough. I hope you found this guide helpful and learned something to take your Calcharo to the next level. If you have any other questions or any tips I might have missed, let me know about it in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a like and subscribe to the channel. Or if you didn't, then leave a dislike. I'm Dr. Misk. Until next time, peace.